Hey, welcome everyone to 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. My name is Matt, and with me, as always, is
Dan the Movie Man.
Dan, the movie man. How are you, sir? I almost turned that into a song.
Yeah, I mean,
Dan, the
had a good kid.
movie
I was
man.
like catching the intro music in here, and it was like it was bopping, so I'm bopping with you too. I mean, living the dream, man. I mean, we still got sunlight outside, which is unusual for us recording.
I know.
'Cause I don't think we've ever recorded in the daylight. But anyways, yeah, excited to get into your thoughts. How are you, sir?
Uh, doing good. Excited to continue down this journey of 1001 movies. This is our seventh, eighth, our eighth episode or our ninth episode, our eighth film in this series that we see. I know we've discussed it before, but it seems like we're just plowing through this, and I know people are like, "You're at
Are you
8 out of
really?
1001. Chill, bro." but like we are doing this in a very rapid uh timeline. Like we're kind of hitting recording episodes at least 2 a week. It seems we've been doing, even though the audience is only seeing one a week. So we're getting through it. But of course, if you are just joining us, first of all, thank you. And we are going through the 1001 movies you must see before you die. It is the 2021 edition, uh, written by Stephen J. Schneider, updated by Ian Hayden Smith, and of course, it is available on Amazon.com or wherever you get your books. No, we are not sponsored by them, but in case you want to follow along,
Yeah,
that's
if,
where
if
you
you
can
guys
find it.
end up seeing us, please feel free contribute. You want to give us some notes? Absolutely, definitely take some.
So, Dan, what are we talking about today?
All right, so today we have, I guess it would be the second foreign film that we have for us. This one's going to be called The Music Room, and I'll just try to do this. So we have that directed by Satyajit Ray, a well-known filmographer over in India. He's best known for his Apu trilogy, a set of three films that together chronicle the life of a poor Bengali villager from childhood through adulthood. They really kind of shed a light on the Indian art cinema, and this is something definitely outside of what we typically watch. And yeah, really excited to talk about this with you.
Yeah, so as per usual, I will read a brief description of the movie that we watched. Uh, Dan said, Dan said it's directed by Satyajit Ray. If I'm not saying that correctly, please forgive me. Uh, and the story tells of a wealthy landlord who lives a decadent life with his wife and son. His passion, his wife would call it his addiction, is music, and he spends a great deal of his fortune on concerts held for the locals in his magnificent music room. He feels threatened by his neighbor, a commoner who has attained riches through business dealings. His passion for music and quest for social respect are his undoing as he sacrifices his family and wealth trying to retain it. Um, and that's where I'm going to leave that. Dan, we got any stats on this?
So just top line stats from our research, it did say in the cliff notes here, Ray did not think that this film would be successful in foreign markets, but proved to be a critical and financial hit. The only information I could find is that it ended up grossing about or just over $3,000 worldwide. I'm not sure what it did nationally or what it did overseas. If there were some numbers that I'm missing on what we were able to find. Uh, However, this does have a runtime just over an hour and 30 minutes. And I know you and I used to talk about, how does that rate as far as the bathroom scale, right? Do you have to go up? And I think that's a comfortable amount of time for a film. And overall, again, this is someone that's going to appear multiple times, this director in this book. So it's kind of our first look of when we may spin one of his works next, um, being a premiere movie, but not too much information on top of that. So really, I guess we get started right into the reviews.
Sure. So, I'll just go ahead and go, uh, and then I'll bounce it back to you. Um, I personally, I didn't know what to expect when I went into this. I, uh, I had seen, every time I go into a movie, I think Dan said that he does this too, that I will go and see what other people have said about the movie. I look at other reviews and just see kind of what I'm getting ready to get myself into. Um, and I saw all positive reviews. From all accounts that I can tell, this is a very well liked, beloved movie. I I wish that I enjoyed it more than I did. Um, I found that it lacked, and it's obviously, I was gonna say it might just be me. It obviously is just me, but, like, I found that it lacked anything to, like, really pull me in to the story. Um, it didn't draw me in. I found myself paying less attention and just kinda, like, I even had to, like, at one point look up what the movie was even about because I wasn't following it very well. The only things that really drew me in were the music, and I thought that the music was very well done. I found myself bopping along to it, and which wasn't, I wouldn't have expected that, but not knowing what was going on, I got lost fairly easily several times, and the music was great. It was engaging. Um, This is one that I probably would need to give another watch sometime down the road if I wanted to give this, another shot. And I've done that before with films that like originally and not just, foreign films, but even like I remember back when totally different type of movie, but when Sin City first came out in like the early 2000s, I first watched that. I was not a fan. And a couple years later, I went back to it and revisited it, and now I love Sin City. So this might be a thing that I come back to later down the road, just to see if I have newfound appreciation for it. But right now, it just didn't quite capture me the way I wanted it to. And again, I really don't know what that is or why. If it was the writing or I just it was just I just again I and some people might say, "Well, it's a foreign film and you're hating on foreign films." It's really not that. I have just within the last couple months, I've been exploring and opening the doors of my foreign film. I hate to use this word, but virginity. Uh, I used to be someone that never would watch a foreign film or subtitles. But in the last 2 months, I've watched like 12, 13, something crazy for me, amount of foreign films, and I have loved every single one of them. Like, I am a champion now for most foreign films. This one just didn't do it for me. Um, but that's kinda where I'm at with this. How about you, Dan?
Um, Honestly, I feel like I do feel some of the things that you felt as well, but overarching, I feel that the film did build a pretty good relationship between the viewer and Roy to kind of get where his headspace was. So we're viewing this man who is descended from generations of folks that were landowners. I believe they called him grandfather as a term of respect or endearing, but his family has risen to power in decades and maybe even centuries past. And he lives in a palace pretty much, right? And then we see him, he's on top of his roof and he's looking down over, you know, his domain, I guess, so to speak. And we find out later that over time, there, I mean, the issues that plagued him, they had rivers or floods that washed away most of his land. Um, and that was one of the things the servant said to him was like, you should have paid more attention. Like, paid more attention to what? Like, my land getting wiped out from me. But overall, we see that his wealth over time has become less and less and less. And he's addicted, like there's no other word for it. He's addicted to music, and he has this music room, which is our namesake for the whole thing. And he hosts these concerts. He brings in the best talent from around. He spares no expense. He's selling off his wife's jewels, which are the only remnants that they have of their fortune at this point, to bring these people together. And even the common folk that live on his land, he has them over to view and see, and kind of a status thing for him. And he tries to hold on to that. And then you see this other a land baron, or let's see, a money lender. I'm sorry, Gangley, who comes in, and he's pretty much up and coming. He's putting his wealth together. He's building houses. He's becoming more of status. He doesn't have the past or the pedigree that Mr. Roy has, but he is accumulating wealth and power and status. And you get to see this transition or the shift. And Mr. Roy is trying to basically say, like, I was here first. I'm the one who has the status. Like, you can't ever outdo me. And that's kind of the mindset that we're put in. Is he hosts these, like, Gangley comes up to him and is like, hey, I'm gonna have a concert in my house, in my music room. You can come over. He's like, oh, no, 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 no. Like, we're gonna do one that same night. And he didn't plan on it beforehand, but just out of spite, he does this. And he not only does this once in the movie, he does it towards the end of the movie, and he completely wipes out everything that he has. His complete inheritance, his complete, like, wealth. I mean, we saw over the course of time, he's down to, I think it was 2 servants. He had many more before that, which apparently was all even more or less than what he had started out with originally. And they're just sticking around. The mansion or the palace starts to um, become decayed. Um, and then the other part of this movie, the big transition here is, to me, this character is very prideful. He carries a lot in and of himself, and even to the point where, since he rushes to have this music concert, so to speak, he asks that his wife and child, who are visiting her parents, come back to be part of this. And because he urges them to come back, they end up coming back in the middle of the storm and tragically die. And again, that is a reflection of what happens due to his pride. Like, indirectly, he is responsible for those 2 characters dying because of having to have them back and having to celebrate his status and his power. And I think in the end, one scene that stuck out with me probably the most was when he's in the room and he's talking about, hey, do you know who my grandfather is, and my father was, and my great great grandfather, and talking about how great these men were, and he considers himself to be among them. And then towards the very end of the movie, all the lights start to burn out. And I think it's the realization that, okay, there's no one that's going to be able to carry on his legacy. There's no one that's going to be able to carry on, like, his love of music. So even though he put all of his life into this, what does it amount to? I mean, in the end, he loses his status as a landlord or a lord of that area, and you have this other upstart that's kind of coming up and probably going to assume your role. And I think in the end, he just kind of snaps and he hops on the horse at the very end. He's going full speed. People, like, his remaining servants, tell him, "Don't do that. Don't get on that. It's reckless." And he goes on and he takes off, and he just, unfortunately, the horse rears up, he falls from the horse, and then he dies. You see him bleed out, and for all the power, wealth, and status that he had, he's reduced to nothing. So, um, to understand this film, where it comes from, reading from the excerpt of this book and why they felt it was important, Indian film up to this point included, and even after this, included a lot of Bollywood type movies. And this was an attempt to reflect something more real, or another side to India that wasn't really portrayed. And I think the book states, like, the famine, like the barrenness, some of the stuff that we wouldn't necessarily see if you put on a movie. It's glitz and glamour, especially with Hollywood, right? If you're reflecting or trying to reflect that light. Um, so does it hold significance for that effect? Yes. Um, Now, this is considered one of Ebert's like one of his greatest movies of all time. He considers it. It won 2 awards at a Moscow Film Festival. I failed to mention that earlier. But personally, do I think that this is necessarily a movie you should see before you die? I guess we'll kick that around a bit. I'll give you back to you for closing thoughts, and we'll get into that.
Well, you went way more into it than I did. Which, by the way, everything that you said I got from the movie, but it was again, it goes back to me having to like look up the plot as I was watching it to try to figure out what was happening. It just didn't connect with me in the way that I really hoped that it did. But yeah, for me, I mean, the last couple of these that we've done, I went back and forth on, is this really one you must see before you die? Um, and then even consulting with you, Dan, and Kayla, what does that mean? And it's really, I guess, like you guys said, it all comes down to my opinion, and my opinion is just that. It's mine, no one else's. I know and that this is a well-loved movie and well-respected movie, and I respect it for that. But for me personally, this is a thumbs down. This is not a movie that I needed to see before I died.
Okay. Um, so going back into kind of what you're saying is you had to look up where you were. I think my biggest issue with this movie is just the amount of time between parts. And what I mean is they do include a lot of music. There's a lot of focus on the music room itself, which makes sense because that's what it's about. But the pacing of the movie to me is very, very, very slow. And it was hard at times to, I think, just keep the focus and, try to keep that track with it. Am I glad I watched it? Sure, because I mean, we started this journey wanting to experience filmography, and gain a wider appreciation, and ultimately, I think I have from this. Is it a movie necessarily that you'd have to sit there and say that you'd have to watch before you die? I'm unfortunately on the same mindset as Matt on this. I don't know if I'm going to look at film differently because I viewed this movie, um, but I do have a deeper appreciation for it. So I am again glad that I got to watch it. But no, not a movie that I'd recommend or you'd have to watch before you died.
And there we have it. Again, now I really, really dug the music in this most of the time. So, like, if you had given me a concert movie of just this, like, give me the music room the entire time and just the music,
Well, I think
I
that's
I might
ultimately
have liked
what
it
a lot
more.
of a lot of films out of India would have. You do have a
Yeah,
lot of like Bollywood-esque type, but this was an attempt to do something more than that, to be more dramatic. And not sure how prevalent this type of film was at that time, but definitely something different. So more so, even for the director, it states in the book that it was something different than what you'd traditionally expect out of him as well. So just I think growing as a director for him as well.
sure, and I can respect that. But yeah, it just wasn't for us, guys. But that doesn't mean it's not for you. So if you have seen this and you disagree with us and think that we're garbage because we don't like it, then comment and let us know. Let us know how much we suck. But or if you agree with us, let us know that too. Um, it is that time once again where we're gonna put our fate of where we go next in the hands of the wheel. So in just a moment, we will be spinning to see what is the next film that we watch, and we're gonna go there, and we should have a wheel on our screen. Do we have a wheel, Dan?
Hasn't loaded quite yet. Here we go.
Okay. Um, I'm lagging very much so, but I'm gonna click, and here we go. Oh gosh. Monsieur Verdot, Monsieur Verdot from
Verdot
1947.
or Verdue, one of the two.
Yeah.
Verda. Kayla's giving me on the side. Let's see. 47. See what page number we are for the folks that are following us.
222. It is page number 222.
Charles Chaplin movie.
Oh, interesting. When he was in France, probably.
Just reading a little bit about this, guys. See if we have any notes we could leave you with.
Yeah, Charles Chaplin.
But apparently, it was an idea proposed by Orson Welles that Charlie Chaplin brought to life. So yeah, definitely two powerhouses in the name of one cinema.
Yeah,
and
like
also, radio and works in general. Yeah.
that's not what I was expecting when I saw the title. I wasn't expecting to see Charlie Chaplin. Let's see. You are Verdo, Charlie Chaplin. And this is streaming on Max, if it looks like. If you would like to follow along with us once again, this is going to be another Max film. So you can watch along with us there, and be sure to tune in next week as we review Monsieur Verdo.
And look, guys, I want to thank our viewers up to this point. We are getting a little more traction, and we're actually getting some comments on some of our videos. I understand folks that are excited to see. At this point, filming this has happened well in the past, but wanting to see my man Godfrey. So last week, some folks waiting to see that, and also Willy Wonka, which is like way back there. We have actual subscribers that have pre-signed up to be notified when these are going through. So thank you for following us. And if you do have notes, if you want to get in the conversation with us, let us know. Best way to contact us is through the comments, I guess via the YouTube channel, or Matt, I'm not sure what other medium you'd like to talk about.
Yeah, no, I think that's the best way right now. YouTube channel, of course. The link to my Letterboxd account is in every video that we've posted, but there's no real way to comment or communicate on Letterboxd. It's strictly like movie reviews. So if you want to reach out to us, send us a comment, and we should no one would email us, but I was gonna say we should set up an email address. So if you want to share your thoughts and opinions, email us at 1001movies@gmail.com. That's not a real email address, by the way, so don't email that.
We don't know. It might be somebody.
It could be. It could be. It's not
that.
ours. It's not our real email address. So for the time being, do not email that. But yeah, shoot us a comment. Let us know what you're thinking. If you agree with us, if you disagree, what you want to see. If you have the book and you can't wait for us to get to like Dracula, like Dan was talking about last week. Let us know in the comments, and maybe we'll skip ahead to that one. We'll take requests, and as long as it's in the book, we'll talk about it. So make sure you subscribe, ring the notification bell so you get alerted each and every time we post a video. Mr. Dan, that's it for now. I guess we'll see you on the next one.
Catch you on the next one, guys.